everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming out today, and welcome back after the day of rest. I hope everybody is well rested, energized. I know that there was quite some inspiring talks this morning with some of the youth here today. I'm going to start off a little off script and go back to why I'm here. A lot of people see NASA. I saw a lot of folks up there taking some great photographs of our NASA meatball. But people look at me and they say, NASA? Oh, you must be interested in the moon and Mars, right? That's always the first question. But really, I'm here because of this chart right here. And you can think about this as a generational chart, right? So this isn't tied directly to my family, but it's pretty close. So you can think about this as my mother's age, and then myself, and then my youngest son, who turned 6 on Sunday, actually. But what you can see here is when we look at this, our parents' generation, there wasn't a whole lot of change, right? As we go into my generation, it's starting to change a little bit more rapidly. But what concerns me is my son. And looking at his generation, when he turns 70, there's going to be rapid change and a lot of uncertainty. And so if we look at this, these different bars are the various emission scenarios. And what I'm saying here is we have an opportunity. These are projections based on various scenarios, but we still have a choice. We have the opportunity to act. And what this means that if we understand our Earth and our system and we act, we can make changes. And that is what I'm interested in from a NASA perspective for my son, my next generation, and all of the children coming up behind us. So I'm going to flip to this next chart. And again, I mentioned that a lot of people think of NASA and they think of moon and the Mars. But we also study the Earth. Our home planet is the most studied planet by NASA. And so in order to understand it, we want to have observations and missions. So we have more than 26 satellites orbiting the Earth, looking back and observing and monitoring what we call our vital signs. So here we can see this. Now, temperature is one of our primary vital signs that we're monitoring. But we're also monitoring vegetation. We're monitoring aerosols and clouds. We're monitoring carbon monoxide, ice sheets, and sea level. And what this chart here is clicking through is our average temperature over time. And as you can see, that temperature is rising. And I'm going to let this run through. It's running through pretty quickly. But who here knows what the hottest year on record was? 2023, right? But as it comes closer, you can see it rising and rising. But this is a way to communicate that change, and it's really important for the next generation. So I'm going to give it 1 second. And look at 23. We knew it was the hottest year on record, but what's striking is by how much. That is a large increase in temperature, and that is not a trend we want to see for our children. But again, we can change, we can act. The other big point I want to point out is all of this information that we're monitoring and collecting from our 26 satellites, it's free and open to the public. But we need to get that information out to everyone so they can, again, use that education, understand it, and make change. So now I'm going to come back to kind of what we're here for today, some of the education and training. And we mentioned the GLOVE program up front, but we actually have multiple programs set up for science and education. And we do what we call K to Gray learning. We have educator and STEM professional training. We do citizen science, and we have associated protocols to collect those observations. And we also do capacity building programs. What we do with capacity building... Say that again, Tyler? Speak up? Okay, I'll speak up. All right. As we build capacity, we're connecting communities and organizations with the real issues. So they come to us and they say, how can we better solve these problems? And we empower these communities through training and partnerships and by giving them the data and the knowledge and the understanding of what is happening in their communities. So I'm going to touch on 4 programs today. Now, these are not by any means all-inclusive, but they represent a wide range. So I've already mentioned we do the K to Gray. So we do a lot of training for all ages. That could be from elementary school all the way to grandmother's age. It's very important for all interested parties to have a better understanding. We also do training and education in all parts of the world. So you tend to think about this as learning locally, but thinking globally. The first program I'm going to hit on is GLOBE. The GLOBE program tends to, it hits over 48,000 educators. We connect with more than 860,000 students, more than 260,000 citizen scientists, and from more than 125 countries. So that is a broad program. And we call this both a science and education program. And this provides students and the public worldwide the opportunity to participate in data collection and the scientific process, but also contribute meaningfully to our understanding of the Earth system. Now, GLOBE recognizes that the Earth is a system, and it provides classrooms and trainings and young teachers the ability to understand some of these interdependencies. So we look at the Earth as a system. Now, where GLOBE gets fun and it really tends to engage learners is through this GLOBE Observer app. So the training and classroom activities that I've mentioned before are closely tied to observation collection. This app allows you to go out and get your hands dirty and collect data and contribute to the scientific community. Each theme has specific protocols for the proper observation, so you know exactly what you're looking for as you're collecting observations. And these are available in 12 languages, so it's useful, again, around the world. Now, I want to talk first about the mosquito mapper, because how fun is a mosquito mapper? All right, so I mentioned sometimes we like to say in NASA that we can see the unseen. Do you think we can see mosquitoes from space? No, of course not. We can't see mosquitoes from space. But this gives students the opportunity to learn about habitats and favorable conditions. And these are proxies for what can be seen from space. So we understand that mosquitoes like warm, wet environments. This can be seen from space, right? So by going out and collecting observations, you're not only learning about what we're looking for, you're learning about different species, but you're also helping to validate some of our models, right? So if we can validate our forecasts of when mosquitoes will be in certain areas or where we expect them to be most prevalent, this impacts our health and the health of our communities. So it all ties back to some of the change that we're seeing in the environment. The next example I want to hit on is globe clouds. So clouds and aerosols in our atmosphere are very dynamic, and they're also critically important to understanding our climate. So we use a graduated learning platform here. So we start at a younger age and build up. So early in the training process here, we just really look at the different types of clouds, just understanding how clouds are formed and the different types in the atmosphere. But as they grow, they're learning the importance of the clouds to the Earth's radiation budget. So based on cloud shapes, the opacity, the thickness, the coverage, and all of this can be submitted to this app. So here's what I'm showing is 1 to 2 days, just 1 to 2 days of collected observations around the globe. And this is how these observations complement some of our satellite data. So what's really critical about NASA is we're looking from all vantage points. We're not just looking from space, right? We're not just looking at what we have here is a MODIS image, so the data and the imagery from there. But we're also looking at, this is a Calypso image. So the vertical curtain is a space LiDAR. So again, seeing that unseen, a space LiDAR can actually see where the cloud tops are in that vertical component. We can also see where the aerosol layers are, such as salt, dust particles. And we are now being able to match those with the globe observations from citizen scientists. So if an observation was made within 15 minutes of a satellite overpass, it is matched to these observations. And what we can see here is the white represents a cloudy sky, and we're actually validating some of our models, and the blue is a clear sky. All right, so I've covered all of that. Let me see what here. Now we're going to go into another program. But I love to talk about GLOBE, so if anybody has any questions about GLOBE afterwards, I'm happy to answer those questions. So The next one is the International Space Apps Challenge, and this is an annual global hackathon, and it takes place over 2 days, typically in the October timeframe. I see a lot of hands waving. That's not for me. Okay, it typically takes place in the October timeframe, and this has been going on since 2012, but it has grown every year. So as you can see, we've had over those 10 to 11 years, we've had over 220,000 participants in over 185 countries. These are hackathons that are looking to solve problems that are submitted by NASA engineers and scientists. How can we, again, engage communities to help us solve the most critical problems? Let's see. Oh, I forgot to mention that some of the challenges, they're wide-ranging. So the one was on the space biology digital twins. Again, another topic of interest for me, so if anyone wants to talk about digital twins. They're also looking at things such as art or managing fire. So the challenges in a Space Apps Challenge is very wide-ranging. All right, so the next program here is Climate Kids. And again, we wanted to hit on a variety of ages. I mentioned K to grade. This is typically targeted at those younger children. And what we really want to do here is really hit inquiring minds early in their growth. And I mentioned my son turned 6 on Sunday. He is very interested in this site. And one of the things I gave him a Lego little space cube builder, and he designs a satellite every weekend. I swear that he is building things, and he loves to go back and learn, and why are we doing this? So this comes back to, why do I work at NASA, and how can we develop those next generation, those inquiring minds? And the last program here that I want to cover is Develop. Develop is more of our capacity building program. So here is where we work with communities and organizations that come forward with environmental or policy type questions who are seeking data to help them inform their decisions, to inform action. So we pair these communities with teams, and they do 10-week feasibility studies. So these communities and organizations looking to answer their problems, we pair them with the next generation of remote sensing experts. So we're not only building capacity in training folks on how to use remote sensing, but we're building tools and developing tools for these communities to use. At the end of these 10-week development feasibility studies, they can either continue developing that, or they determine, hey, you know what, this isn't the right type of data, let's continue looking, but in a different way. Again, this is a program that develops the next generation of remote sensing experts, but builds capacity through co-development. And we have projects from Develop that range from looking at solar panels on roofs to urban heat islands to zoonotic disease. So this, again, widespread type of program. And the success of Develop really hits again in these numbers. This is another global program. Actually, in 2 days, over in the Bhutan Pavilion, we're going to be talking about a long-standing partnership that we have with Bhutan and the Develop program. But we've engaged with over 1,100 unique partner organizations. So we have a lot of interest and a lot going on there. And so those are just 4 programs that we have, but again, we have multiple throughout NASA program. And I just want to end on, again, why are we interested in doing this? Why are we doing this? We want to understand how to get the information out to people who need it. How can we empower people to use the information to make better decisions, to act for our next generation? And that's all I have. I'll take any questions if you have some. All right, and one last note. I do want to say that chart was from the IPCC report. That's for my comms team in the back there. Make sure I get that cited. I saw a question up front. So the programs, we engage with global students, global educators. So again, when we have partnerships, the Globe program trains educators around the world, again, from 125 countries. Same thing with the Space Apps program. We're working with global those who are interested globally.
Hi, my name is Mariela. I'm from Argentina. I know the Globe program. I've been several times in Globe. I'm actually an ads Globe student blogger. I also wanted to ask how there are more ways that we could involve youth apart from taking measurements in the Globe developing processes. Like how can we reach more youth apart from using the apps or like making projects with teachers? Because sometimes it's really hard to find a teacher that wants to implement a project or like wants to take measurements.
So in addition to actually taking the measurements, we also have a lot of different classroom activities. So it doesn't have to be going out and taking the measurements. And it doesn't have to be in a classroom either. You don't have to be an educator to use these products. They're available to anybody. So engaging various clubs or organizations outside of schools, that is absolutely a way to engage others outside of the academic classroom. There's a lot of at least in the U.S., a lot of Boy Scout and Girl Scout troops have done a lot of training with these, and that could also be engaged, internationally. All right. If there's no more questions, I will conclude there. But again, if anybody has any side questions, I'd be happy to chat. So thank you again for joining, and look forward to seeing you with the rest of COUT.